Yes, welcome into Sports Bit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Big game breakdown. We got the game tonight in college, Iowa State and West Virginia, Duke, North Carolina on Saturday, Kansas and Oklahoma State, plus a game in the association tonight, Toronto and the Wiz, and the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books coming up. How about a rare look at a bad basketball, Teddy? The Warriors couldn't do much on offense. They were bet up to 8. They lose against the Bulls. Amazing but true. The Bulls have won 18 straight on Thursday night TNT home games.
Yeah, so is that random? Yes, that's random. Does it mean it's a bad idea to bet on the Bulls on Thursday night TNT home games? Not necessarily. Bettors are the right idea, betting the total down 220 to 217. But yeah, we always do bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. This was bad for the eyes. All right, bad basketball. Curry and Thompson, what do they combine for? 3 of 21 from three-point range. They had as many turnovers. This is the stat that amazed me. They had as many turnovers between them as assists, 6 each. Curry just 4 of 31 from beyond the arc on this road trip. And look, I mean, Chicago killed them. Last 3 quarters, they beat them by 14. They beat them by 9 in the second half. You know, we thought that this might be a nice, easy ride for Steve Kerr down the stretch and in the playoffs. And while I don't think this is panic mode for Golden State, that was bad basketball last night. And the Warriors certainly have some concerns as they continue on this brutal scheduling stretch.
Yeah, 36 second-half points. That's amazing. How about this, though? Chris Clemens, Campbell. This started the day early on Thursday. 51 points for Campbell, and the 2 seed is out early in the Big South tournament. He's the second player in the last 20 years to score 50 points in a conference tournament game. Jimmer Fredette, the other one. In the semifinals, you had the 2 seed and the 3 seed go out. So today, coming up later today, a semifinal game will be 16 and 16 against 14 and 17. That's Campbell against Radford. Yes, the winner will be 40 minutes away from an automatic bid if they can shock the world in the championship game. Amazing.
And that's why we love March. Let's be real about this. Regular season for the major conferences is still going this week. For the smaller conferences, a lot of them is already over. And you have to think like that. You know, regular season's over. Funny things happen come March. We're already seeing it, obviously, in the Southern Conference.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hate to see stuff like that in the Big South. I don't want teams under 500 in the big dance. Bad basketball teams. Bad beats. Now, this may have knocked Middle Tennessee out. They still should get an at-large bid, but they were in trouble. They were down 18-1 to start the game at home against Florida International. ESPN BPI gave them a 98% chance going in. They said it would have been the 3rd biggest upset in the last few years of college basketball. They got the win in the second half. They blew them out in the second half, won by 3. But they were down big, Teddy. They were biting their fingernails in that one.
Yeah, if you had Florida International on the money line plus 1,300, you had a chance to dream. You know, they had that big early lead. They were up 8 at the break. They did not seal the deal. Yeah, tough beat for FIU moneyline backers, whoever they were.
All right, bad bets. Holy Cross Navy over 115.5 to 119.5. It fell 91.
Yeah, dude, the score was 19-12 at halftime. All right, if you're betting games that are going to be 19-12 at halftime over the total, ooh, and of course that's all wise guy money. It's, you know, whatever formula an algorithm says this total's too low. Over never sniffed a chance. There was a wrong side loser for Holy Cross Navy over bettors.
Bad for the books. This game completely died, but it still went over. It was a tough result if you were betting in-game. The game went over 219, but Charlotte scored 12 points in the 4th quarter. They went a stretch. I don't think they scored for 6 minutes, and the Suns run them out by 17.
Yeah, the under still never had a chance. I mean, all that the game took was over money. And, you know, not a good result for the house, obviously, with the fact that the game flew over, even with that 4th quarter. I'm not even calling it a collapse for Charlotte. Charlotte, when teams start to play defense, the Hornets really struggle to score, and we saw it against last night. But under never had a chance. Books took it on the chin with the Suns to Hornets over.
A Vegas story and an esports story. I know at William Hill you can bet on this stuff now. What do you think of what they're doing downtown, Teddy?
Yeah, I mean, it's this weekend, right? So it starts on March 3rd. Millennial Esports in the Neonopolis, which is downtown here in Las Vegas, just set up a 15,000 square foot esports arena. and there's going to be a 3-day Halo tournament coming up this weekekend. I mean, it's got a 200-seat arena. They have 3 miles of cat cable underneath, dozens of ports under 1 gigabyte internet speeds. They have LED video walls. I mean, it really is kind of cool looking. And, here's a quote from a senior consultant on the project, Nick Fortheringham. Imagine SportsCenter or College Game Day on Saturday. The analyst desk is open to 5 people, just like College Game Day with the stage, the big LED wall, and players hitting in that area. That's just magic. You talked about it. William Hill's going to be putting up numbers on this from one of the board members from Millennial Esports. Quote, Seth Shore. Las Vegas needs to consistently reinvent itself to remain relevant to the up-and-coming generation. We've always come up with ways to maintain our position as the entertainment capital of the world. Looks cool, Pauly, and the fact that there's going to be betting numbers, always attracts my attention, even though I know nothing about Halo tournaments.
Yeah, and William Hill started doing that a while ago as well. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start with the 2 games tonight, and we'll get to 2 on Saturday on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. 1 game in the association tonight. Raptors now hit the road to take on the Wiz. Wiz at home, 5-209.5 the total. They just played. More on that in a second. Battle for the 3 seed in the East behind the Celtics, who are 39-22. Washington 36-23. Toronto 36-25. The Wiz had lost 8 straight in this series until Wednesday. 105-96 in Toronto. They get the win. They led by 24, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, John Wall had more assists in 34 minutes than the Raptors had for the entire game. Wall with 13 dimes. The Raptors just 11. And DeMar DeRozan, he really couldn't find any breathing room in that ballgame. Scored 24, but just 7 of 20 from the field. The Wizards' defense really harassed him. Only 4 rebounds for the game. And, I mean, this was all about the second quarter, really. Washington broken open. They were burying threes, 38-20 in that second Q. But it's worth noting, the Raptors have now trailed in double digits all 4 games since Kyle Lowry got hurt. And they were able to rally back and win the first 3, not against Washington. Patrick Patterson, quote, "The best thing we can do is just flush that second quarter down the toilet and completely forget it, because absolutely anything you would have thought we could do wrong, we did. No talking, no communication, no rebounding, rushing shots on offense, and not contesting. Everything you didn't want to do on the defensive side, we did." So, certainly Toronto wants to flush this performance behind them, but given the Kyle Lowry status right now, are they really capable of flushing a performance like this behind them? Especially with Washington playing really good basketball.
Yep, Wiz were hoping Bogdanovich would bring them some punch off the bench. So far, they've been right. 27 points in 25 minutes on Wednesday, 58 and 81 minutes the last 3 games. Now they had Brandon Jennings, so the depth goes from a weakness to a possible strength. John Wall, quote, "Jennings plays with a lot of energy, a lot of heart. You might not like a guy or get along with a guy while you're playing against him and competing, but you always add that person to your team. It changes things. You're like, damn, I don't like going against this guy. But when he's on your team, you love it because he does all the dirty work and all the little things that go unnoticed, and he helps out your team." What do you think of these moves, Teddy?
I think I look at Washington as potentially the toughest challenge for Cleveland or Boston. I mean, really, I don't think there's any question. And power rating-wise, I've got the Wizards, I think, just 1 point south of Boston right now. So the moves they continue to make have made them viable. They've been an undervalued commodity all year. And look, when you're talking about the home-and-home series, the markets will always knee-jerk towards the team that lost the first meeting. We're going to see Raptors money in this game before tip-off. I would be shocked if we didn't see at least some Raptors money between now and tip-off. But I'm telling you, Washington is a one-way team for me, particularly at home. We saw it in the first meeting. They're the better of these 2 teams right now, and the markets have had a hard time accepting that fact.
All right, game number 2, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. College tonight, good game, 4 o'clock Pacific, ESPN2. Iowa State, West Virginia. West Virginia 7.5, 151 the total. First meeting, January 31st at Iowa State. West Virginia was laying 2. They won 85-72. They were up 4, the Mountaineers, midway through the second, broke it open late. They were 17-20 from the line and 10-21 on threes. from the first matchup. Iowa State, the Big 12 leaders in three-point attempts, made 10 of 26. Back-to-back banked-in threes by reserve guard Bolden during a brief first-half appearance. Now, is this a senior night, so what do you want to do here where you don't know where the kids' emotions are going to be at?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this game on today's show because the concepts that we're talking about here can definitely be applied to other games. Okay, here's Iowa State. Well, first let me talk about the first meeting. Let me talk about Iowa State first. Iowa State coming off a huge senior night on Tuesday. We're talking about a team that has limited depth, and we're talking about a team that went through the gamut of emotions in that wild game against Okie State earlier in the week. So here's a Cyclones team that may be a little bit gassed, and it's a Cyclones team that also struggled in that first meeting between the two squads. Again, West Virginia winning that game on the highway. Now, they did it with the banked-in threes and all of that, all the free throws, which are not, that's not West Virginia's strength. It's three-point shooting or free throw shooting, and they performed well in both of those aspects in that first meeting. But now we talk about rematch. I mean, West Virginia, this team's loaded with key seniors playing their last night in front of the home faithful, Paul.
Two starters. I got Adrian, a picture here. Adrian, Phillip as well. Reserves, Mays, Watkins, also James Long. They want to erase that bad taste of what happened against Baylor on Monday. They lost by 9. They were up late, and then Baylor pulled away and won by 9. But Huggins, quote, "This team the last 2 years, if we don't rebound, we're going to struggle. We got to get more shots than our opposition." Our leading rebounder was Carter. He's 6'1". Wouldn't it look a little better if our 6'9" maybe got a rebound? Carter got more rebounds than our three bigs put together. That's inexcusable. Iowa State had their senior celebration on Tuesday. What do you think of this spot, Teddy?
Well, I mean, again, from a spot standpoint, you can count on the money coming against Iowa State. West Virginia, senior night, everyone's going to play. Iowa State used up all their emotion in theory on Tuesday, and of course, it's short turnaround as well with the Friday night game. The question comes, if Iowa State falls behind, do they chase? Do they chase hard? Or do we see Iowa State go for it? Because again, an outright win wraps up the number 2 seed for the Big 12 tournament. Here's a quote from Coach Palm. Quote, Prom, I should say. "If we want to be a 2, we can be a 2. I do think this team does have another ceiling to get to the way we're going right now. We're going in the right direction. If we can go that one more step, we can be one of the elite teams. I truly believe that." What do you think, Pauly? You think Iowa State is capable of being an elite team, of making a Final Four run, of winning in Morgantown for that matter?
No. They don't defend enough, and we've seen their issues. We've seen them the last few times with a good seed go out early and not get it done. So I would say their ceiling is Sweet 16.
I'm with you on that.
All right. Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Oklahoma State in the play of the day up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard, at Teddy_covers. Big game breakdown continues. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. 5 o'clock Pacific, ESPN Saturday. Duke in North Carolina. Projected line, UNC 6, 156 the total. Duke was laying 2.5 in the first meeting, won 84-76. They were 13 of 27 from 3. UNC was 4 of 12. No hicks for UNC in that one. Pinson only 19 minutes off the bench in his first game back from injury. Allen had 25. Grayson Allen had 25. Kennard had 20. But we don't know about Allen in this one. He didn't play against Miami.
Yeah, and of course, Jason Tatum also had a big game in that first meeting. He scored 19 all in the second half. But you're looking back at the box score. The biggest surprise of that game? Duke won the battle of the boards, 31-29. They had 24 defensive rebounds compared to only 6 North Carolina offensive rebounds. And if you're going to beat the Tar Heels, that's the way you have to do it. Again, we've talked about this multiple times on SportsBit in recent weeks. How good is North Carolina on the glass? They're number 1 in the country. They get 42.3% of their misses turned into second chance opportunities. In the first meeting, that was only 20%. And it's worth noting, North Carolina, number 1, 42.3. Number 2 is Wagner at 39%. Number 3 is Baylor, also at 39%. So they're way ahead of the rest of the field statistically when it comes to their acumen on the offensive glass.
So how close is Allen to 100%? Again, he didn't play Saturday at Miami, and he came off the bench against Florida State. He scored 2 points and played 13 minutes. That's something to watch. That's big. Get involved in game wagering maybe. And also this too. Senior night is senior night for Roy Williams. Doesn't matter that it's Duke. The walk-ons will get in there.
Yeah, look at the graphic. I mean, every year, in 2015, the senior walk-on, Luke Davis. And again, they're only going to get a couple of minutes. They're not going to take any shots. They're not going to take any rebounds. But I think it's cool that Roy Williams does this. And maybe it affects North Carolina a little bit early on. If you're thinking about North Carolina first half, Davis and Frank Tanner and Daniel Bollock, Mike Copeland, Dewey Burke. Well, this time we can expect Candler Coker to get the start. He's played 23 minutes this season, 1 of 3 from the field with 5 points on the campaign. You might expect him to get the start, and of course, he'll come off the floor to a standing ovation.
You're going to get a pissed-off Carolina team too, Teddy, after that debacle Monday against Virginia.
No question. But being pissed off and winning a game by margin the following time out, they don't necessarily correlate. And of course, obviously, if Duke can control the defensive glass, they're alive to win this one because that's North Carolina's strength.
All right, last one, 3 o'clock on ESPN, live odds, sportsbookreview.com, 3 o'clock Pacific. Another good game. Kansas in Stillwater to take on Oklahoma State. Projected line, pick 'em, Kansas won. So around there, 167 the total. Could the number 1 team in the nation be a dog against an unranked team? AP poll, Oklahoma State unranked. Maybe the coach of the year in Underwood. They open 0-6 in the Big 12 since then. 10-2. The only losses by 3 to Baylor and by 3 to Iowa State earlier in the week. First meeting, Kansas was laying 13.5. They won 87-80 at home. The Cowboys had the lead at the half by 4 and still were up 4 with 17 minutes to play. But Mason and Graham and Jackson took over for the Jayhawks, Teddy.
Yeah, that was a 2-point game with 4 minutes left. But as you mentioned, Mason 22, Graham 21, Jackson 20. That's a pretty big 3. The 3 guys who will all be playing in the NBA next season, all of whom could be first-round draft choices. But the question for Kansas, they just had their senior night, okay? They've now clinched their 13th straight Big 12 championship. They've clinched the number 1 seed for the conference tournament. They have nothing to play for in this ball game. And look, the key cocks for this team, they absolutely, positively need a break. Look at the minutes in the last 4 games. We talked about 3 guys who are going to be playing in the NBA next year. There's been a possible 205 minutes over the last 4 games, counting that West Virginia overtime. Mason's played $1.99, Graham $1.93, Jackson $1.71. I'm sorry, that's the last 5 games between that Kansas has played. But, the only thing Bill Self might be pointing ahead to this week are the tournaments, because this game doesn't mean a thing for himself, for his team, for his program.
Yeah, you're right about that. And beating a number 1 team would be huge for Underwood, though, in his first season. Certainly has the talent to do it. We like this team a lot. You got to love Evans. He may be only behind Ball and Mason at point guard, and he might have the energy to beat Mason in this game. How good is the Oklahoma State offense? We told you about it when we cashed the Play of the Day winner against Iowa State earlier in the week. NC2A best adjusted offensive efficiency the last 10 seasons. 2015 Wisconsin, 2017 Oklahoma State, now tied with this year's UCLA team.
Yeah, and actually they round slightly higher than the Bruins. So we were talking about UCLA's offense as being historic. Okay, Oklahoma State's offense is pretty darn good. And of course, when we're talking about a pick'em point spread range or something we expect in that pick'em range, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see the markets move towards Oklahoma State. But how often you see the concept of a number 1 team in the country being an underdog to an unranked foe doesn't happen every day. May well happen here. That's why we use it at the highlight of the show, or at the top of the show.
All right, here it is. Money time. Play of the day. Let's stay hot. Betting number 610. Good all the way up to -1.5. Oklahoma State. All the races we just talked about. We think they'll get the win, and Kansas and Self already focused on the conference championship game, or conference tournament coming up. A big win for their program in Underwood. Let's take them at home. Good up to 1.5. That's the play of the day. When we come back Monday, a lot of teams already will be dancing, Teddy. We'll go over that, and it's time to dig in hardcore with these conference tournaments. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, more bids go out, and the big boys start too on Wednesday, Teddy.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Monday, we're going to start out deep dive ACC tournament, and there's so much more. If ever there's a week to watch SportsBit, yeah, March Madness is good. Conference tournament week next week, even better. Be sure to tune in every day to SportsBit Betting Insights Today.